Ambedkar said that I measure the progress of a community by the degree of progress which women have achieved. So, dear guests over here, I would like to thank you for welcoming me to speak on a topic that is very dear to my heart, women empowerment. As a prolific writer and columnist, you will see many articles and blogs written by me on the very same topic. You will find speeches presented by me advocating women's rights, and you will see my work as a social activist and reformer, either bringing cases that bring women's plight in the mainstream media and advocating for justice, or fighting for women's equality irrespective of religion, caste, or economic background. All women deserve the right to equality, and all women should be empowered socio-economically. Today, we are here on B.R. Ambedkar's Jayanti, commemorating his egalitarian vision for a brighter future and his noble causes, especially related to women. As he was a champion for the underprivileged and marginalized, in my eyes, he's a true hero. For a hero is not someone who plays on the screen, but an individual who saves lives and whose legacy lives on. Ambedkar's legacy is that today we have a discourse on his thoughts and ideologies, and those thoughts are echoed by millions across our nation. We can see fruition of his legacy today as I speak before you, and so will my fellow female peers who will speak after me. Our voices are heard today because one person dared to risk everything for us, and for that I owe him many thanks and my heartfelt gratitude. May we all continue in this great man's footsteps and forge our path forward tirelessly as he has done for us. I have been blessed to have a platform to show my entrepreneurial spirit over the past few decades. Over the years, I have juggled between family responsibilities and, of course, my economic growth. Economic strength for women is very powerful. It allows us to feel secure, safe, and boosts our confidence. Yet, I'm always careful to guide that woman that I know to not take this power and become intoxicated in its spirit. We should remember that equality does not mean dominance or the right to become overbearing. It is our prerogative to have a healthy and happy life, and that inculcates balance. The balance between managing a family and managing my work has been of the utmost importance to me. Today, I can say that with pride that my family has played a huge role in supporting me and making me who I am today. In the All India Depressed Classes Women's Conference held at Nagpur on 20th July 1940, Dr. Ambedkar spoke. I'm a great believer in women's organization. I know that what they can do to improve the condition of the society if they're convinced. They should educate their children and instill high ambition in them. As B.R. Ambedkar believed, education is the crux of development, and families should support daughters by instilling ambition and the value of focus for succeeding in their education. My mother, though she was very orthodox herself, always covered her head, never put the shackles on me. She encouraged my education and made me a hard-working person, for she also believed in a woman's need for independence. Thanks to my mother, I still use the value of hard work today. My work ethic is dedicated to her. But the seed of those thoughts arise from Ambedkar, his voracious appetite for reading, and his unending fight for equality. It created a shift in our approach to putting women in the same pedestal as men. Though I had the support of my family to work and pursue my dreams, such as opening and running a successful school, or being a part of travel industry and founding an organization that is today worldwide. It is globally known. It was not completely an easy journey for me. I had to work twice as hard than men, for there was a household to take care of, and I had 2 small children to raise. Ambedkar had argued, and I quote, "It is in the interest of the nation that the mother ought to get a certain amount of rest during the prenatal period and also subsequently." The bill for which he advocated was not received with warmth. Nonetheless, with time, our government has heard his voice and encouraged private organizations to provide maternity leave and facilities on par and even better than that of developed nations. This is a huge milestone which shows that we are listening and we are moving forward step by step towards the fulfillment of B.R. Ambedkar's dreams. Women empowerment stems from self-respect. It is a process and not a product. We cannot think of empowerment as an end goal. You might see a woman who's very successful in her career, but she may not have equal rights in her household, or vice versa. We should also remember that empowerment is a baton to be passed on from woman to woman. I will give you an example of Indra Nooyi. It is the one that I love and share with my near and dear ones, and today I decided to share it with you. Indra Nooyi has retired as a CEO of PepsiCo. To reach her platform in life, she spent many late nights at work. One night, she became the president of PepsiCo and reached home to tell her mom. And she reached at 11 p.m. to tell her mother. When she parked her car, she approached her mother and said with beaming joy, "I have something to tell you." But her mother interrupted and said, "Whatever you are saying can wait, but first go and get milk." Indra was disheartened, but she did bring the milk home. When she returned, she slammed the milk on the counter and asked her mother, "Why didn't you ask my husband to get the milk?" Her mother said, "Because he's tired." Then Indra asked, "Why didn't you ask the help to get the milk?" Her mother said that she forgot. Then Indra said, "I wanted to tell you something very important. I had a big news for you, mother. Today, I have become the president of PepsiCo, but you didn't even listen to me." To this, her mother calmly said, "When you enter the home, you're first a daughter, a mother, a wife, you leave your crown at the garage." It is a message that Indra Nooyi has never forgotten, despite her many successes. She has ensured a healthy balance between home and work life and done her best to remove ego from the household situations. How I take it is no matter how successful a woman is, there is a need to bring emotional intelligence to the household and not let the ego of running a department or organization arrive at the dinner table. I get a chance to speak at different levels globally, and I say the same to all the women, and all the women problems in the world are the same. We are better off in India. Now, empowerment is not about the ego. It's not about constantly being on guard for your self-respect. It is not simply about power. There are many dynamics a woman has to handle. Women empowerment allows women to balance the many dynamics as she chooses. Development has a close link to women empowerment. With implementation of programs and policies that are for empowerment, we see great benefit to entire nations, businesses, communities, and groups. Many world leaders and scholars have argued that sustainable development is impossible without gender equality and women's empowerment. Now, this reminds me of a concept of Srishti, the creation of the earth. Lord Brahma and Goddess Saraswati were both required to create the masculine and feminine elements of the world. Without the balance of both energies, creation could not sustain itself. Lord Brahma desired self sustaining progeny, and without the support of Goddess Saraswati, this desire could not be fulfilled. This analogy can be used in both ways to understand the importance of the feminine in the sustenance of nature, as well as the importance to create a balanced environment which supports women. Our environment, workplace, policies should be geared to enhance the participation of women instead of pushing women to create a masculine identity. Dr. Ambedkar's key work in the preparation of Indian Constitution made it to be known as a new Charter of Human Rights. Article 14, 15, 16, 39 and 42 are the platforms which provide women the right to equality and empowerment. Based on these articles, over the decades, India and its government has collectively worked to bring about systematic change in women's parity. India could boost its GDP growth by 1.5% points to 9% if around 50% of women could join the workforce. McKinsey's 2015 Power of Parity report suggests that raising India's female labor force participation by 10 percentage points would bring 68 million women into the economy and increase the country's GDP by 0.5 trillion by 2025. Other studies, I would say, such as those by the International Monetary Fund, also estimate a high increase in India's annual GDP from assured economic participation of women. Women's economic empowerment is highly connected with poverty reduction, as women also tend to invest most of their earnings in their children and communities. As more women take up new opportunities for paid jobs, they challenge entrenched cultural and social norms. A woman with a job will help mold the attitudes of her household and the next generation. India's society is changing. The Equal Remuneration Act 1976 ensures equal wages and equal power to women. Today we see that there is no gender pay gap among pilots. Our proportion of female commercial pilots at 13% is the highest in the world, more than double the global average of 5%. Now, I would like to talk about the past of India. Thousands of years ago, the Vedas were written in India. The Vedas are the highest source of knowledge and philosophy. Many of its shlokas are still being interpreted till date. Many of its mystery have still not been revealed, but the ones that have held high in high reference. One of the source of Vedas was Rishi Agastya. He started as one of the greatest sages of our ancient Indian history during the golden age of intellect. Lopamudra, who was the wife of Rishi Agastya, wrote Panch Dasi mantra of the Vedas. This by default means that Lopamudra, a woman, a wife, was considered to have the highest form of intellect to write the Vedas. Rishi Agastya held his wife to be of equal stature and intelligence, to have her to be a part of one of the greatest source of wisdom, prosperity, and high living in the world. It speaks volumes of our ancient Indian culture. This is one of the many proofs of empowerment, being a natural state of living in our ancient Indian culture. The root of women empowerment, economic equality, and gender parity does not lie in the Vedic philosophy, but in the twisted conversions made thereafter, bridging the gap between the true Sanatana Dharma and B.R. Ambedkar's vision is when we will be able to rise out of the gender imbalances created by present-day society. We have come a long way since B.R. Ambedkar laid the foundation for the Indian Constitution and advocated for the rights of women and the marginalized. Today, our nation stands united against similar problems, and we have inched forward and taken control of the situation. We can take courage from the fact that we are more aware and better equipped at resolving the mishaps of our pre-independence era. My dear ladies and men over here, thank you. Thank you for your patience. With that, I end my speech and I wish all the women here a great future in continuing the work of B.R. Ambedkar. And over to Nupur. Thank you.